Welcome to the Costa Property Podcast, the podcast that turns your dreams of owning a piece of paradise on the Costa del Sol into reality. I'm Warner Laurie, and I'm joined by my co-host and wife, Sandra Laurie.
Join us as we embark on navigating the ins and outs of real estate and relocation to this beautiful region.
We're not just about market trends, we're about sharing real-life experiences, because we know the struggle firsthand and I've helped many people navigate this challenge also.
If you're dreaming of your perfect Costa del Sol home and want to get real, no-frills, expert advice, then you're absolutely in the right place. Join us each week as we share honest insights and information that will guide your journey. Bienvenido and welcome to another episode of the Costa Property Podcast. I actually cannot contain my excitement for today's episode. You are really in for a treat. We are joined by the amazing Donna Elliott and the incredible Cheryl Lee from Now Is Your Time Too. And if you haven't heard about them both, I think you must have been hiding under a rock somewhere. They are best-selling authors, TEDX speakers, and mindset gurus. And we're going to be jumping in today to all things mindset and how important the role of your mindset plays when you actually have a big dream, like purchasing a slice of paradise on the Costa del Sol. We don't have Warner with us today because this episode is a little bit more my vibe. So I will take the Spanish word of the day today, and you'll hear it referenced at some point through the episode, no doubt. And the Spanish word of the day today is brujas, which is the word for witches. So let's jump into today's episode. So Donna and Cheryl, welcome to the Costa Property Podcast. I'm so excited to have you both. Best-selling authors, TEDx speakers, mindset gurus. I feel like I'm rolling out the red carpet for you both today. So thank you so much for joining me for this. I'm completely here for this today. How are you both?
We're good. We're just so excited to be here. This feels like incredible. And how is this work, please? How is this our life? How lucky are we that we get to come and chinwag with you and have a coffee? Very, very blessed.
Amazing. So for any of our listeners that don't actually know Donna and Cheryl, I think you may have been hiding under a rock somewhere. Donna and Cheryl are complete legends. They're actually my coaches. And they have supported me tremendously through my journey over the last 12 months. Whereas many of you know, I've transitioned out of a very senior corporate role into setting up my own business and supporting Warner on our business, which is WL Costa Properties. And we have now this amazing podcast. And I think both of you, well, you know that I love you both, but you've both been instrumental in terms of supporting me through my transition. So I feel incredibly honored that you're here today with us to impart your words of wisdom with our listeners. But I think before we dive into the nitty gritty today, and I'm just so excited to get into it, tell our listeners a little bit about both of you.
Well, first, before we do that, thank you for that beautiful intro. We have to say we love you so bloody much. I can't believe we've only been in our worlds for 12 months. I think the reason we all get on so well is because it resonates, doesn't it? So Cheryl and I met in corporate and had the senior leadership roles and knew the pressure that came with that. And we always say it wasn't that we didn't love our jobs. We did, but it was predominantly because we loved the people that we worked with. We've known each other for 20 years now, which blows my mind. Through 2 decades, divorces, miscarriages, deaths, marriages, the lot, we've been through the whole spectrum of life together in these last 20 years. And we always said we would work together one day. And then 6 years ago this year, Cheryl's dad, Davey, sadly passed away. And it was just, the switch went off in my head of this is it. Are you really, really happy and living your best life? And I just knew the answer wasn't yes to that. And as much as I loved my job, I realized that I actually loved the money more than the job. I liked the life that it afforded me, but I felt like I had no life and I wasn't living my life. So that was kind of where I was coming from when I said to Cheryl one day, do you fancy starting a global movement to help women, all over the world live the best life? And she was just like, yes.
Simple as that.
Yes.
But I love what you do. I love your mission. You support so many. As I mentioned, I've been working with you myself through the course of the last 12 months. I've worked with you in your Elite Mastermind, which is an incredible community for women who believe that they can have more, right? And I've also worked with you quite recently one-to-one, which has been incredible in terms of really helping me elevate. I've no shame saying this. I came to both of you white knuckling life, full of ambition, but not really sure how to channel it, felt that I should have achieved more and wasn't really enjoying the moment, and battled with some of that negative self-doubt, negative self-talk that I think many people battle with. But tell me a little bit about, and for our listeners, who is your common customer? Who do you typically work with?
It's changed as we set our business up. So like Donna said, we left corporate, like literally working with corporate in the April. And then by the June, we set our business up. When we first set up, we were like, right, let's just go out and share our story and see what happens. Like that was the business plan. You know, when you hear people say, I need to write a business plan. Our business plan was, let's just go out on social media and say, have you ever felt like you don't feel good enough? Have you ever felt like you're not worthy? Have you ever felt lost and you don't know your true identity? Have you ever suffered from imposter syndrome? That was the business plan. So we went out to women and said, does this resonate? That was the plan. And it resonated. It seemed like there are millions of women out there who actually feel like that. And we've helped like tens of thousands of women with it. So when we first set the business up, we were working with women in corporate who had a dream, a whisper, that kind of that pipe dream of like, oh my goodness, I'm working in corporate. I've got the golden handcuffs. Would it be possible for me to leave corporate and set up a coaching business? So we've helped many women leave corporate, not just coaching businesses, but other businesses as well. So we've helped many women find the confidence, change their beliefs, and really embrace and know that everything's possible. So we've helped lots of corporate women do that. And then as the business has developed and we became more like 6 years into business, being an entrepreneur, having nearly $2 million turnover in our business, we then started to attract more entrepreneurs who had already set their businesses up, who wanted to scale their business. From our corporate background, helping women to know that there's something possible. If we, two middle-aged women from the northeast of England who don't have magic fairy powers, even though we were witches in previous lives, if we leave corporate, set up a business and earn £1 million turnover, then anyone can.
And I love that. I love it. And I think so many relate to that because I do. Little Sandra from Tipperary, who packed her bags and moved to Spain and lives that life abroad that so many dream about. But Cheryl, you just mentioned it, that word, changing our beliefs. Okay. And I think this is why I really wanted you guys on this episode, in terms of, we have listeners who are going to be sitting all over the world, UK, Ireland, America, around the world, and they have a dream, right? They have that whisper. I want to move to Spain. I want to own a piece of paradise in the sun. But sometimes we allow another voice to seep in where it starts to say, oh, people like you don't live in Spain. Little Sandra from Tipperary doesn't live in Spain. You know, she deserves to be back in Tipperary with her 20 varieties of potatoes, you know. We let those voices creep in. On a serious note, you know, I am not a person who has a house in the sun. I can't have a property abroad. What would you say to that?
It's so true. And I love like the honesty that you have when you share your story, because you are like a shining example of everything that Now Is Your Time is about, right? Because you would look at you and your life and you seem so formidable and like you've got it all. And I love that you also share that side of you, like, no, this is what I'm saying inside of my head. Little Sandra from Tipperary isn't the type of woman who has a house in the sun and with a pool and a business and because it's true. Because I think the first thing is just to acknowledge that most of the women that you look at, that you admire, have that voice as well. So just because you have that voice, just because you get that inner critic, doesn't mean that it's true. It's natural and part of our human nature that we have this voice that is telling us that the thing we want isn't for us, telling us that we're not good enough for that thing, telling us that we've got no business. And it's really sneaky because it tells you that you should be grateful with what you already have. So I think first and foremost is just acknowledging that it just means you're human to have that voice. It doesn't mean that that thing isn't meant for you, but that voice is designed to keep you safe. It is designed for you not to go out and do the thing because it likes you where you are, even if where you are is unhappy. Because that voice, you know, those fears, those beliefs all sit in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind, its predominant purpose is to keep you safe. And the thought of moving continents or countries and starting new jobs or businesses or, meeting the love of your life or whatever it is that you want to do. That feels scary to it. And it doesn't actually give a shit if you're happy or not. Its job isn't to make you happy. That's a different part of you that we have to engage to do that. So that's the first thing I would say is it's not, you're not going mad. Everybody experiences this voice. It's not real, but it's also there to keep you safe.
That was a real eye-opener for me, that those voices, those thoughts, they're actually there to serve you a purpose, but it's then about what you do with them, right? It's about how you move forward in terms of, do you choose to listen to that narrative, right? Or are you going to have the self-belief to be able to move forward with it? Yeah.
It will feel scary. It will feel scary on your nervous system. You will have heart palpitations thinking about it. You'll feel like you're going to vomit or poo yourself. It seems so crazy and insane. And there are people doing that all over the world every single day, and they don't die. Like, nothing bad happens to them. It's, again, normal to have a real reaction to something when you have these ideas and yourself, stand up, people come to us and say, I've got this pipe dream. I've got this pipe dream. It seems so out of reach. But what you said is so key. It's like the belief that you can do it, and the belief that you are capable of it is what you have to then work on.
Absolutely. 9 times out of 10, people give up, right? Because they go, oh, well, that's not for me. I'm not somebody that should own a house in the sun or buy a property abroad or make a life-changing decision to uproot my life and live in a different country. But if somebody was in that place and those voices were, maybe loud and starting to take control, like, what one piece of advice would you tell them to do today in terms of to try to reframe that voice?
The beautiful thing is about this is that everybody has the power within them to choose new thoughts and create new beliefs about themselves and their lives. Just a lot of people don't know that they have the power to be able to do it. A lot of people don't know that you can choose the thoughts that you think and therefore change your beliefs. So once you know that actually this voice is fear and it's not real, and you've got a choice whether you choose to listen to the voice that says you can't do that, or that you've got this choice to be able to think, well, actually other people are doing it, so if they can do it, I can. You can start to be aware of when you get a voice, a belief, a thought that's saying, I can't do this, that's not possible for me, I can't do that. You just even knowing that you can go, actually, I'm going to challenge that voice. I'm going to ask that, is this serving me? Is this taking me in the direction I want? No. So I can change this thought and I can choose a different thought of, it absolutely is possible. I'm absolutely going to move to Spain. I'm absolutely going to have my dream house. And the thing with our mind is, when you have a thought and you think it over and over, it forms a new belief. Yeah. And then you start to believe that that things are possible for you. This is what we help you to do. This is what we help our clients to do. And the beautiful thing is everyone has the power within them to be able to do that. It's just knowing that you have the power and then using the tools to change your thoughts and form new beliefs. When you genuinely then believe that it's possible for you, you start to take inspired action, right?
Yeah.
And you start to make it happen.
And I love when you talk about this, and I have a memory of when you helped me realize this, Cheryl, back 12 months ago, and I would do typical Sandra coming in, I want to be an international coach and I want to coach women, around Europe. And you were like, right, okay, let's stop for a second. And you did your usual, call bullshit on me, in terms of take a step back. Right, Sandra, where are your clients located today? And I named off different locations. And I actually just went, oh my God, I am already coaching women around Europe. And it was that piece that I didn't believe it. And it took you to put that mirror up in front of me to realize, actually, this is happening in reality. Then I believed it. And then I had the confidence and the evidence to start to move forward and think differently about the place I was in at that point. And that was such a huge moment for me. I totally love when you talk about that. And just to summarize, like, how powerful is that statement? We can choose the thoughts that we think. That's completely in our control. And I can genuinely say, I think a lot of people don't actually realize that.
Oh, 100%. People will often say to us, well, it's just who I am. It's just how I am. Because you genuinely believe that the thoughts that you're thinking are facts. And thoughts aren't facts, they're just thoughts. And the other thing that Cheryl and I fundamentally believe, and it's just like so at the core of everything that we believe to be true of our lives and of the incredible people that we get to work with, is that anything that is planted in your heart as something that you really want, that you desire, is meant for you. we do not believe that the universe would give you any kind of wish, desire, hope, aspiration, pipe dream, whatever you want to call it, if it wasn't possible for you. It just doesn't work in that way, because this constant expansion that we desire to want more, that's a really good thing. Like, we think it's bad to want more because we're greedy. It's not. That is the nature of life, like to expand and to evolve and to increase. So when you have that desire to have that moreness of, why can't you live abroad? Why can't you have this house in the sun? Why can't you have a business where you work less hours but earn more money, so you get to pick the kids up and live in the sun and then go to the pool afterwards and buy ice cream? Like, if you can imagine that, it is possible for you. That for us is, to me, that's as much of a fact as gravity holding me to the earth right now.
And I think what you've said there is so true, right? And I know that from my own experience. We almost feel like we're selfish for wanting more or wanting to do things differently. And I know in my own case, I thought that hard work or my day meant that I had to be chained to my desk, 12 to 14 hours a day. And then if I did take an hour off to go to the pool with the kids in the evenings, I felt selfish for that. I felt guilty. I'd love, for the purpose of our listeners, when they are making that transition into changing their life and have a different type of life abroad, and maybe that voice of you're being selfish is creeping in. Why do you think that happens? Why do we tell ourselves we're being selfish? Because we're trying to do it a little bit differently.
Goodness, this has been passed down to us from generations, hasn't it? Like, this is something, like, when we're children and we're born, we start to make up our own map of our world from what we hear, what we see, what we're told, what we experience. And that's how we form our beliefs as children. So by the age of 7, we have a belief system that's formed by everything that we've seen and watched and observed. And if we just think from generations before us, like, this is what's being passed to us as we then come in the world. So as children, if we're being told, like I was, and grown up in the northeast of England, you've got to work hard. Watching my mum and dad do like loads of different part-time jobs to like make ends meet and to try and bring the money in. Money doesn't grow on trees. I always had 2 jobs from leaving school until I went to start working in contact centres. So it's like, I was taught, I was shown, and I believed that you had to really work hard, be chained to the desk. And that's what I then operated from. And this is what happens to all of us. We are taught our beliefs, we inherit them, we're given them. And unless we then see, experience, are told something different, or are told we can change them, that we can be the circuit breakers, that we can be the ones that change the generational flow of our own families, unless we know that, we'll just continue on living from the same beliefs that we were taught that when we were young, right? So now we get to go, okay, is there a different way here? Can I be happy? Can I have the house? Can I work 4 hours? Can I have more money? And yes, that's true. Let's be the circuit breaker so that we can then get to demonstrate for our children, for our families, our grandkids, whatever, that there is a different way. We've got to then be around the right communities to be able to see differences, to be able to see what's possible, to be like, when Donna said to us, let's set up a global business, she started researching coaches, some of them who were from the northeast of England, who got online global coaching businesses, who are very abundant and who have created the life of their dreams. We weren't told that. Like, we weren't brought up believing that you could do that. Donna went and researched, and she was like, these people here are doing it. One of the NLP principles is, if somebody else has got what you want, then it's possible for you too, right? So that's where we were like, right, well, if they can do it, that's what we can do as well. But if you're not in that community, if you're not around that, if you don't see that, then how would you know? That's what we love about with you doing this podcast with Warner, because people think exactly, it's like other people, these fancy people, or whatever preconceptions you've got about these people that go and do that and set up these lives abroad. And you're there speaking to real people, giving your examples of like, we're just normal people who came and did this and created a life because we had this desire, we had this vision, we imagined how it could be. And when we follow what could be, and we follow the what ifs, and we do it with this sense of curiosity of like, well, wouldn't it be fun if, like, imagine, and you're doing it from there rather than, well, it has to work, and if it doesn't, I'll fail, and I'll have to come home, and da-da-da, and you have all of this catastrophizing, and it's just your brain has a negative bias. It's naturally inbuilt, so it thinks of the negative. So again, when we know that, we can just understand that, right, okay, it's doing its thing again to keep me safe. It's looking for all the balls. And I'm going to go and plug in to hear what Sandra and Warner have got to say about it and who was on the podcast last week, to remind myself that it's possible, because I have to give my brain evidence of what is possible.
I love that curiosity piece, because that was part of my own problem. I grew up in a family where all I ever saw was my parents working, because their belief was you had to work hard to maintain the life that you had. So I inherited that. Like, we don't lick our beliefs off the floor, right? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But that then led me into my own career, where I would constantly go into a cycle of burnout. I've been very honest with you both that through working together, one of my beliefs was, yes, we always want to have more in life and be more successful and be abundant and have more. But genuinely, my goal was that I wanted to build a career and a life with longevity, because I was tired of listening to my own shite, right? Through the work that you've supported me to do, you know, I've been able to actually challenge my own beliefs. And I think it's been critical. And that's why I'm such an advocate to both of you and the communities that you've built, because you are actually supporting people around the world to understand that they can have the life that they want, right? And you're giving them the tools to achieve it.
Anything that you want, you can have. Like, if you just went through your life with that belief of anything that I want, I can have, and I don't have to know how I'm going to have that happen yet. I just get to be really smug in the knowing that if I can see it and I can imagine it, and if I can hold it in my heart and just see it in my imagination, then it will happen. If I just trust the process and just get curious. It's such a different place to live from faith instead of fear. Like, as in not faith in a God, but just a faith in that if it's meant for you, it won't pass by you. But you've got to keep your side of the street clean and take the aligned action and follow the intuitive nudges and get curious. When we started the business, bearing in mind this was pre-COVID, so we used to have to tell people how to go on Zoom. Like, we used to say it's a free thing and you dial in and it's like a video call, it's like a FaceTime. And, you know, we'd have to, people didn't know how to use it, right? So again, the world changed so much through COVID for the better for our businesses. But at that time, I had this misconception that coaches would go and charge £50 an hour and sit in a room somewhere like a therapist would. And I knew I didn't want that. So I was like, well, hence, like Cheryl said, I was investigating people, because I'm like, let me go and see. I just had to find an idea, just go, right. So if they've done that, then we could do that. And you're just going to have something to build on. And when you do it with the curiosity rather than but I have to know all of the hows. We didn't have a clue. Like, one day to the next, we were making it up. Let's not lie, people. You know, because we didn't have the money to hire a coach or anything at first. And being in the space of, but we're already doing it. We're already on the journey. There isn't like an end point. We're having fun along the way, and it'll work itself out. And coming from that place of faith, of we're excited about it and it feels good. Cherry say all the time, it'll just have to work out. Like, it will just work out. And we didn't know how. We couldn't have imagined 6 years ago that we'd be sitting here now with you, right? Or having best-selling book and having been TEDx speakers and stuff.
And I'll give a very practical example of myself in terms of when we've worked through that together. So as you correctly say, right, it's not enough just putting it on a vision board, right? Because if you put it on a vision board, but you believe that it's not going to happen for you, but you're attracting that it's not going to happen, right? So we know one of my big milestones with Warner this year, or our big milestone as a family this year, was we finally got to move into our dream house. That house, I always knew I would live in a house like I live today, where I can see that sea view. I knew that. I fundamentally knew in my heart that that was for me. But if I didn't trust, like you say there, in terms of that was for me, and I took the steps and had the belief that I could live in a house like that would have never happened for me, right? Because I would have attracted the opposite. Again, it's back to the work that you do. It's like, we have to trust, we have to believe. Like, putting it on the vision board it's just not enough, right?
It's the feeling that's always key with it, right? Like, what's in the way? Like, what are those blocks? What are those limiting beliefs and doubts and fears? And because as you eradicate them and crush them, wipe them off the face of the earth and increase this. Sandra, can you imagine yourself getting your coffee, looking out the window, seeing the sea, hearing the kids playing? The more you get that and you build that excitement, so you're eliminating at the back end all of the limiting beliefs, and then you build in the vision and the positive, empowering, yes, it is true beliefs. So we're always kind of working from both ends of the stick. When I was brought up, we were like told to like believe something when we saw it.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing. Like, oh, when it happens, then I'll believe it. That's not what we teach. We teach people to believe it first in mind, which is what you've done, Sandra. Believe it in your mind, and then you will see it. This is how the creative process works. We believe it. We know that it's just on its way. It's going to happen, and then it happens. Not waiting to see something and then believe that it's possible.
Yeah.
It's going to take years, people.
And as you say there, like it's believing it, but it's like really feeling it, like embodying it, right? So just that complete knowing. I love that.
Yeah.
If somebody had a big dream, right, and they're sitting back, you know, wherever they're sitting in a cold country and they're looking at the grey skies and they really know that they want to have a holiday home abroad in the sun, and their heart tells them that they're going to have that, but they're talking themselves out of that dream, right? They're talking themselves out of it. They know they want it, but it's just not happening. What would you say to that?
One of the most powerful things that we use, it's on the back of the book and we've used it with some clients. One question to ask yourself is, if I was still sat here in a year's time, looking at the grey skies, in the freezing cold, dreaming about this house that I wanted in Spain, how would you feel? And it's one of those questions that literally gets people to go, oh my God, that would be shit. I can't stand the thought that that's what's going to happen. Like, I don't want to be sitting here in a year's time even just to kind of like ask yourself the question, because if you just continue doing the things that you're going to do, you'll still be there in a year's time. I'm sure Donna's going to say something much more inspirational to tail lap it off. No, like it's true. That's why we put it as the first question on the back of the book, because it's such a humdinger of a question. I remember years and years ago, like decades ago, when life coaching was only like a brand new concept. It was like what the Americans did. And I remember going to see a lady who had started a life coaching business do a talk in this lovely place in York. And I remember her saying, I don't remember anything else she said, but I remember her saying, my number one goal in life is to die with no regrets. And it just bumps, you know, something just drops into your stomach, because I knew I was living, even then, all those decades ago, I knew I wasn't being true to myself and living, I knew I was going to have regrets. And that really, really terrified me. And I lived a long time in an unhappy marriage, being grateful for a job, even though I was burnt out, stressed out, and I felt like I should just be grateful because they paid me a lot of money, right? You know, at what cost didn't even come into my head. It was like, just, that was the sacrifice. And these words from this woman just kept echoing in my head all through that time. And when Cheryl's dad died, that was the moment. It was so loud, this roar, because the whisper gets louder and louder and louder, because life will keep talking to you until you listen to it. Right. And it's not in a morbid way, like, oh God, will I die? But the amount of clients that have said to us over the years, like, I don't want to die with a song left unsung. And it's like, we all have these timelines of, oh, I'll give it a year and then I'll see how it goes, or I'll give it, 6 months, or I'll wait and see. And you tread in water, like, you don't know that you have that 6 months or that year or that whatever. And I think having Caleb really crystallized that for me. It's like, I want to show him what it's like to live your best life. I don't want him I don't want to tell him to live your best life. Like, because like Cheryl said before, they're learning through everything that they're observing and seeing. And that to me is just like those messages that, how will you feel in 12 months? When it comes to your end of days, is there something that you're going to regret doing? Because, when you think about it, like the thought that you'll not do something just in case it's not successful, like, is a bit bonkers, isn't it?
And especially when it comes to kids and our families and the loved ones around us, the people that we set examples to in our life, I really believe that we have an example to teach them, to show them, to give them that evidence, right? To demonstrate to them that actually I can do what I really want. I can do what the whisper is telling me. I completely love that. But Donna, you have a little bit of an old love affair with Spain. Right. I had the absolute privilege late last year to go to one of Donna and Cheryl's incredible retreats in the chateau in France. And oh my God, if you haven't seen it all over my social media yet, like, have a look. It's just been one of the best experiences of my life. But I learned when we were sitting around the dinner table one night, all behaving like brujas and witches and concocting our spells, that Donna actually speaks Spanish. So yeah, that was incredible.
Do you know, it's almost, it feels like lifetimes ago, you kind of forget. When I went to uni, I went to Liverpool and I studied French and Spanish and like a complete numpty. So bearing in mind, I'd never, this is how beliefs work. I wasn't meant to go to Liverpool. I was meant to go somewhere else and study Italian. And I didn't get the right grade in something or other. So I went and did a degree. Bearing in mind, I'd learned German and French, and I went and did a degree in Spanish. So I hadn't learned a word of Spanish before I went and did a degree in it. So that was bumpy. So then on your third year, you had to spend a year abroad. So I spent 6 months in, or 6 months in Avignon. And then, yes, I spent time in the north, in the Basque country in Vitoria. I lived there. It was the most amazing experience because, again, this was before the days of mobiles and stuff. And I knew if I went somewhere where there was just lots of parties and English people, I wouldn't learn a word. And I knew I had to come back and graduate. So I had to learn the language. So I sent myself literally to Coventry kind of thing, where they didn't speak English very much.
Their Spanish is as pure as how we all speak English. It's beautiful part of the country, though, honestly. And I loved that. I loved learning that. But honestly, a huge, huge, huge thank you to both of you. I know you're so busy and I feel so honored that you've been able to come on and spend some time with me just to talk to our listeners about how they could start to make their little whisper, their dream, a reality. Yeah. I really appreciate that. But if there is any of our listeners at home and they want to learn more about the amazing work that you do, if they want to participate in your communities or be a part of your world, how would they do that?
Come and jump in on Instagram and on @NowIsYourTime2, TO, not the number 2, @NowIsYourTime2. And come say hi, drop me a DM. We'll send you the links. We've got free communities on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. So just come say hi. Tell us that you listen to the podcast and we'll direct you to some resources. They can check out the TEDx talk. Yes. On YouTube, and obviously they can get the book Become the Real You on Amazon. So amazing. Yes, we'll go get all the things.
We'll put all of the information into the show notes anyway, so people can come and check out your world. Your book is incredible. I read it when I was cruising the Med last summer. I brought you firmly on tour with me. An amazing book. What an incredible privilege. And you were TEDx speakers. So many ways to check you both out. And sincerely, from my heart, a massive, massive thank you to you both. I really appreciate all your pearls of wisdom. And I'll see you in a couple of hours.
Thank you for having us. It's been so much fun.
Thank you so much for listening into today's episode on the Costa Property podcast. Another fantastic episode learning about the highs and lows of relocating to the Costa del Sol from real people who have been through the journey themselves, and of course our wonderful experts. If you have been enjoying the show so far, remember to hit subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating or review.
We absolutely love hearing your thoughts. Please send any questions that you would like us to answer on the show to warner@wlcostaproperties.net, or you can pop us a message on our socials, which are in the show notes. Remember, you can also visit the website www.wlcostaproperties.net.
See you on the next episode, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.